All right, good morning. It is Thursday morning, and we're going to talk about the squatter epidemic, guys. Because wow, tell you something. This is reason to be concerned, and it's not. The squatter problem is way worse than you think. All right, guys. Good morning. I hate to say it, I'm gonna have to try to cut this show right at the hour this morning because I've got a busy morning this morning. But this is important, so I'm gonna do my best to try and do the topic justice. And we're gonna start with the basic story. Now, this story is a couple days old, but it's important to kind of tell the story in order. And before I get to the article itself, I want you to start asking yourself the question, which I'm going to answer in a minute. What does squatting, what is the relationship between the squatter epidemic, the illegal alien epidemic, and the illegitimate cases against Donald Trump? What do those three things have in common? I'm going to answer that question by the end of the show. So we're going to start with this story. New York City, woman arrested for trying to kick squatters out of her $1 million house. An actual story in 2024 America. A woman inherits a house from her dead parents. The woman shows up at the house intending to list it on the market. She finds squatters hunkering down in her family's home, so she changes the locks. The squatters show up, mad that they've been booted out of the house they've taken over, so they call the cops. The woman, the actual property owner who's standing in the living room holding the deed to the building, is arrested. Okay, so this story comes from MRC TV, but it's been reported in basically every outlet. This is a big deal. I have the video from the scene, which is reported by hang on, let me pull that video up real quick. Basically, the woman showed up to the house with reporters.
This is empty. This is my home. My locksmith is on the corner waiting to change my locks, and it's not fair. It's not fair that I, as the homeowner, should be having to go through this.
How you doing?
Minutes later, a locksmith showed up, but police gave her a warning before they left.
I may end up in handcuffs today if this man shows up here and says that I have illegally evicted him. I said to them, let him take me to court the way I've been told to take him to court.
Now, Tim Pool's talked about this a bit, and he's right. If you show up to your house and you find squatters in the house, when you call the police, you do not say that there are squatters in the house. If you say there are squatters, you have just ceded some of your authority and legitimacy. What you say, because it is the truth, is that there are burglars in your house, that people have broken into your home. Now, the difference between burglary, robbery, etc. Burglary is not a crime that necessarily entails the taking of physical property, right? You don't have to show that somebody grabbed your DVD player or your big screen television and was trying to leave with it. Burglary is committed at the moment that the breaking and entering occurs. Okay? Trespassing is unlawfully being within the curtilage of the property, which is to say that they are on the property itself. That they're in your front yard, they're in your backyard, they're in your woods hunting illegally. They're on the property, having been given notice that they are not welcome on the property. Right? So, salesman comes up, knocks on your door, and there's no sign that says no solicitors. They're not trespassing. Not yet. But when you tell them to fuck off, and they don't, then they're trespassing. As soon as they breach the threshold of the physical improvement of the property, they enter the home. Okay? And guys, right? We've talked about my military background a bit. Before that, I worked in title law as a real estate title examiner, as an independent agent doing farm out work from title lawyers. And today, the vast majority of my clients are real estate agents as I shoot properties. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience as a real estate photographer now that I'm retired, and doing that as a kind of a side hustle and a pretty good income stream. But I run into the squatter problem from time to time. I'm going to tell you some stories about that. But point being, I know this. Old Rod Purvis, old mean bald-headed man, made me read Pendars back in 99, 2000. That's the fuck off thick stack of books that detail Georgia real estate law. I actually am an expert on this. So once they break that threshold, that is when they've committed burglary. Okay? Incidentally, if you happen to have a broken down car with no tires on it, that qualifies through a fixture by weight as a physical structure on the property rather than as a separate asset. So if they happen to be sleeping in the back seat of your Buick on cinder blocks, they are also burglary. So this woman called, and the cops show up, and the guys that have broken into her home, the burglars, the home invaders, who in almost every state in the union, you can just fucking shoot, say, we live here, man. We have a lease. And the cops take her side. And I'm sorry, it's like a 5-minute video. I'm not gonna flip back and forth through it looking for the particular spot. But in the video, you clearly see and hear the cops talking to the home invaders and saying, look, man, can you just show me something? Like, the cops go out of their way to help these guys prove their claim. But they just default to throwing this woman out of her house, putting her in handcuffs, frog marching her out of her own home, right? And locking her up. Okay, Sergeant Major asks, are they burglars when they cross my fence? They could be, and because I'm familiar with the layout at your place, I can say reliably that the answer is no in your case. However, if the fence is physically connected to the house, that changes the legal definition of that enclosure. So what you have, Dad, is a fence that goes around the property, but does not itself connect to the house, and so it doesn't qualify structurally as an extension of the physical building. So once they cross the fence, they're trespassing, assuming that the and by the way, I mentioned the sign or telling them to bug off. Having a fence isn't as strong an argument for trespassing as is the posted sign or the purple paint on the fence post, but having a fence around the property that they had to have crossed to enter the property is at least a strong claim that the property was indicated as being private and restricted to access. So once they cross the fence, there's a good argument to be made in court that they are already trespassing, but at that point they are not yet burglaring. They have not yet committed breaking and entering. But if that fence is connected to the house, then they are. That has to do with the placement of structural improvements to the physical real estate and the domicile on the property, and where the distinction is between that and the curtilage of the property. So yes, if the fence is connected to the house, then they would be treated as if they were inside the building itself. Under the law, technically they are. So, So that happened. These men were in the house. The cops showed up and they arrested the homeowner. And the burglars, the home invaders, who were being called squatters, claim that this is not a criminal activity. This is a civil dispute between a landlord and her tenant. And so her remedy is necessarily to go to a civil court and file suit to have him evicted. That's bullshit. That is not the case. What's happening here is these people are committing fraud. They are making the claim that they are legally tenants. Well, in New York, as it turns out, you only have to prove 30 days of occupation in order to claim that you are a legitimate tenant, which is ludicrous. For the most part, in most states, you need something like 7 or 14 years to claim color of title or pursue adverse possession. In Georgia, it's 7 years, and even that's a little squirrely. And you've got to prove 7 years. There's I've written scripts and shot and done a pilot for a series called The Secret Most Sacred Society of Pizza Ninjas and Obscure Geniuses. And the only reason that hasn't been a huge success on Netflix is because the producer died. I was almost a Netflix millionaire off of that television series about 5 years ago, and then the producer died, and now there's some legal questions about producing the series, which I'm still working on, and hopefully we'll be able to make that eventually. But the second season of the series in my scripts begins with an episode entitled "Porn and the Color of Title." And it's a gag, it's a funny little trope, and it's a way to get my A-team characters in a particular position. And the way it works is they've got a hacker who goes onto a porno website, and specifically a porno magazine website, and fakes 7 years of subscription at the address of an abandoned hotel so that they can steal the hotel and turn it into their operational headquarters. Right? And that's all very loosely based and fictitiously based on the laws around how squatters steal property. So I said earlier that I'd explain how this relates to illegal aliens and to the Trump illegitimate cases. And I'm going to first I want to run you this article from the New York Post, because a thing happened yesterday. Vigilantes tried to evict squatters at $1 million Queens house after a homeowner who confronted them is arrested in tense standoff. A pair of vigilantes allegedly tried to forcefully evict 3 alleged squatters from $1 million Queens home after the homeowner was arrested when she changed the locks and tried to remove them. I'm going to amend this sentence. New York Post, you need to be corrected. After the homeowner was arrested when she changed the locks on her own property, which she lawfully owns. 2 unidentified men driving a black pickup truck pulled into the driveway of the Flushing home, searching for the tenants Tuesday afternoon, according to the Daily Mail. We're looking to get this guy out, one of the men allegedly said. A neighbor told the outlet, I am here to talk to him. I want to see why he is here. The $1 million home in Flushing, Queens was taken over by squatters last month while the owner was trying to sell it. Adele Andaloro, 47, was in the process of selling the property when the group shadily took refuge in the home last month. However, a male inside called the police on her, and she was arrested. There she is. We saw the video a minute ago. Where is it? The concerned neighbor claimed boards were all over the property, and the people occupying the home were doing construction on the house all night long. I heard a drill and saw through my window that they were drilling holes into the wall and putting up boards. Oh, really? Toward the end of the video, you actually hear the squatter say, this ends when she takes us to court and pays us the money that she owes for the investment that we've put into this house. They've been there a month. And by all accounts, there's no there's no evidence that at any point she even knew who these people were. I mean, even now that she's confronted them, she doesn't know who they are, she doesn't have any relationship with them, apparently. Squatters in New York State can claim a legal right to remain on a property without the owner's permission after 10 years of living there. However, in New York City, a person only needs to be on the property for 30 days to claim squatters' rights, right? Why is it so hard to get rid of a squatter? Squatters are allowed a wide range of rights once they have established legal occupancy, making it difficult to evict them. But this is important. Legal occupancy. When they say legal occupancy, these guys could have gone to Walmart and gotten a track phone and just listed the house they're stealing as the address on the bill. And that shows them 30 days at that address. And guys, go to Walmart and try to buy a track phone. Let me tell you something. They don't give a shit. They're not going to look at your ID. They don't care what your name is. Right? The reason Walmart sells burner phones is so that drug dealers can have communications without getting caught by the police. They're not looking at your fucking immigration paperwork. They're not asking for a passport, and they're certainly not checking the deed or the lease to the home that you're claiming to be your address. Burner phones. Whew. There's a rabbit hole that I cannot go down for so many reasons, but understand this. Burner phones are the absolute bread and butter of criminal enterprises. To an extent that you cannot even imagine. Right? So, apparently some vigilantes went in there with some baseball bats and just went to town on these boys. Now, what got me thinking about this more this morning is I came across this article on moneywise.com this morning. Squatter hunter. For a price, this California man will rid your home of unwanted guests. Shelton's passion for the cause started back in 2019 when his father died. His mother decided to sell her North California home, but while the house was empty and on the market, 7 strangers moved in, even bringing in their own furniture. So what this guy does, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's fascinating. And I found some videos beginning with squatting on the squatter that I haven't even gotten a chance to watch this yet. I've just read the description. Squatting on the squatter. Apparently this guy uses the squatter's tactics, right? He just moves in with them and lives with them. And he's just like, okay, yeah, we're squatting. What's up? And makes a nuisance of himself until they run away. And apparently that's like a whole business now. You can hire a consultant to go and squat with your squatters until they run away, right? So I'm very interested to watch some of these videos going forward and see how this guy runs these squatters out. But we don't have time to dig into one of these at the moment. But squatting on the squatter is one that y'all might want to go check out as well. I don't know what's going. Something's slowing down my buttons here, and it's not switching my display when I want it to. Anyway, so personal experience. I've walked into several houses while I've been doing the real estate photography where there were squatters there. There was one in particular that really, really blew my mind. Steve says I'm losing bandwidth. I may have too many video clips pulled up for this morning's episode. Let me kill some of those. That might help. But anyway, so I walk into this house to shoot the photography. This is a house and this was about a year and a half ago. The house is in a shitty neighborhood. It was a shitty house to begin with. Some investor in California bought the house, hired a contractor, remodeled the house, right? And when I got there, I could tell under the layer of trash that the house had a brand new coat of paint on the walls, brand new floor coverings throughout the entire home, brand new plumbing, brand new fixtures, toilets, remodeled, very nice remodeled showers, brand new appliances in the kitchen, brand new light fixtures throughout. Everything in the house was brand new. They complete remodel. But somewhere in the interim, after the remodel was done, the exterior was all shiny too. Somebody had broken in through one of the back windows, and I'm assuming it was a group of somebody's, because on top of all that brand new beautiful remodel, the squatters had broken the toilets off the flanges, shit in two of the toilets and left them unflushed, smashed one of the toilets through the floor of the second story and into the living room on the first story, ripped the appliances out and smashed them into each other. Broken windows, looked like somebody had gone through and just kicked holes in all the walls. There was not a single flat wall in the house that had not had a hole kicked in it. There was dirty clothing all over the floor. There were discarded food wrappers, drug needles, drug baggies, dirty diapers, just like nasty. So the first phone call I made was to the homeowner in California. I said, "Hey, brother, I'm not here to shoot your marketing material today so much as I am to collect evidence on your behalf. Let me tell you what's going on." I shot him a few pictures with my phone and texted them to him, and then I went through and actually shot the professional photography package that I was hired to shoot after I had a conversation with the guy about it. And then I called the sheriff and put him on the phone with the homeowner and let them figure it out from there, because I did not need to have my fingers in that particular can of worms. I did my due diligence. I shot the package I was hired to shoot, and I sent it over to him. But that shit happens. That's not the only one I've seen like that, but that one in particular was the worst one I've seen. Usually when I find that there have been squatters in a vacant house, there's some evidence of drug use, but they basically break in and they do drugs there, and they don't tear the place up like that. This one in particular, they had gone out of their way to destroy the place, which was just brand spanking new. Now, what does this have to do with criminal aliens? There is a video trending on Twitter and TikTok, especially TikTok right now, and I'm going to play it for you, but here it is.
Mi gente, he pensado invadir una casa en United States, ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla.
I found out that there is a law. Aprende es una ley que dice I found out that there's a law that if a house is unoccupied, we can seize it.
Aquí
This is a criminal alien explaining to other criminal aliens that not just that it is possible, but instructing them how. He is teaching and inviting these hostile foreign invaders to come to this country and steal houses. Now, I want you to understand, keep in mind, when these guys say unoccupied, this is an important distinction in law. There's a big difference between vacant, unoccupied, and abandoned. An abandoned house, there may be a complex probate issue, or there may have never been probate conducted after the homeowner passed away, or for whatever reason, the house has basically been forgotten about, and there's no obvious legal possession of the property by any entity at all. That occurs. Unoccupied, however, which is the word that he used, that can be, I'm moving. I bought my new house. I moved all of my shit out of my old house and into my new house. And, and like the one I described a minute ago where the homeowner was in California and had the house remodeled. That's a little different. It's an investor property, but still unoccupied, right? Maybe I moved all my shit out and moved into my new house so that I could remodel my old house, so that I can get a little more money on it, right? So unoccupied is not the same as abandoned. Vacant is not the same as abandoned, right? So they're talking about basically what they're doing. They're going on like Zillow and related sites, right? Mom mentions, or on vacation, or maybe it's a vacation home, right? Maybe you've got your cottage on the lake and you're only there once a month or twice a year or something. That's still your property. So if you've got a vacation home out there, buy fucking cameras. And make sure those cameras are connected somehow so that you have access to that video remotely. But yeah, they're talking about moving into unoccupied homes and then taking possession. One scam that's going on, I ran into a similar thing recently. I was hired to shoot pictures of a house in downtown Atlanta, and I went to shoot it. And this was another homeowner. I think this one was also in California. But I get there. This was last October, maybe. I get there, and there's people there. And so I call the agent, because I didn't have the homeowner's number at the time. I call the agent. Agent calls homeowner. They call me back. We have a conversation. I'm standing in the parking lot across the street from this house that's supposed to be vacant. And we find out, here's what's going on. The homeowner has rented the house to someone, and that someone whose lease has now ended and is no longer legally in possession of the house has listed the house on Airbnb and is making money off of renting the house, out of subletting the house through Airbnb. So the renter is renting the house out. Holy shit. So that got tied up in court for a couple of months, and then I got hired again to go back and shoot the pictures. And guys, 3-4 months later, when I got hired to go shoot those pictures again, the house was indeed vacant and empty. Well, it was vacant, but it was still set up as an Airbnb. There was still like a coffee station and neatly folded towers. I'll grant them this. It was nice. It very much looked like a bed and breakfast type of situation. Damn, it's already 8 o'clock. I'm gonna have to run over because we gotta cover all this. So I went back and shot it, and I called that agent. I was like, hey, what I'm sending you may just be evidence. Hey, it may be the pictures that sell the house, but this may be evidence that needs to go into that court file as well. But here's another one. You just get an Airbnb. You may not ever even go there. You just log on, right? You rent the Airbnb, you pay the one-night fee, and then you take that address, you go buy your track phone, and then you go back 30 days later and say, yeah, this is my house. I have a lease. Can't throw me out. You can't throw me out. It's mine. I'm the landowner now. That shit's going on. So, how does this relate to what's going on with Donald Trump? The stuff that's going on with Donald Trump right now, the court, Judge Engoron, said that Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million. That's insane. Mar-a-Lago is clearly worth at least 100 to 150. I would say probably closer to $200 million. And Trump has been hit with a $500 million in he's required to get a $500 million bond. And now you see people on Twitter, all the lefties on Twitter are like, Trump's broke. He can't pay his $500 million bond. It's not, okay, there's so much wrong with that statement. And it's mind-blowing that people can be this fucking stupid and form sentences. Nobody has a $500 million in liquid cash. Okay? Anybody who understands anything about wealth, property, anything at all, right? Trump's worth whatever, however many $1 billion, right? Okay. $1 billion of that is Mar-a-Lago Holdings. $1 billion of that is the business value of the Mar-a-Lago Holdings. A big chunk, I don't know these numbers off the top of my head, but just for example, the net worth of the person, right? Let's say you make $100,000 a year. You got a $400,000 house. Maybe you've got $60,000 between your cars, and you've still got a mortgage. You've still got half the mortgage to pay off, half the car payment to pay off, etc. Your net worth, right? When you say somebody's a billionaire, your net worth is the value of those individual pieces of property, those assets, cash on hand, minus debts and liabilities, right? So being worth $1 billion is not the same as being able to write a check for $1 billion. These shitheads on Twitter, they think the phrase, I can afford to buy dinner tonight, doesn't mean I have enough disposable capital compared against my reasonable budget to buy an expensive dinner tonight. They think it means I have $200 in my checking account so I can afford a $200 dinner. Sweetheart, if that's how you understand finances, here's the first tip. You can't afford a $200 fucking dinner. Go your ass to McDonald's and look at the dollar menu, because you're already wrong. So they're talking about how Donald Trump is cash poor because he can't write a check for $500 billion. They just don't understand how finance and capital and assets work. But there's more, and this is how it relates to this problem with the asset seizure that's going on with criminal aliens, squatters, and the like. When the court goes to seize Trump's properties in New York on Monday, the same court system, we're talking New York, that said that Mar-a-Lago is only worth about 10% of its actual probable value, they're going to seize his assets, and they're going to convert those against his assessed debt at a value that they determine, and we already know that they determined that value fraudulently. The basis for the value from Engoron is some tax assessor in Florida, right? Your tax assessment and the value that you can sell your property for are two different things. The tax assessment of the value of a property and the value of a business, which includes that property as an asset, are two dramatically different things. There's a huge difference between selling your storefront to move your business to a better storefront and selling your business. They're going to value these properties dramatically under what they're valued at. And here's the real problem with that. They're not just fucking Donald Trump. They're not just stealing wealth from Donald Trump. You have to understand how property value is determined before you can even start to think about what a big deal this is. They seized Trump Tower. They valued it 10% of its legitimate value. They balanced that against Trump's assessed debt based on the ridiculous $500 million bond, right? And then the real estate comparables for every other real estate holding in New York is negatively impacted by that illegitimate valuation. When you sell a house or buy a house, the value of the home before negotiations take place is based not entirely, but in large part on the sale price of the nearest similar homes to have sold in the most recent period. So if you bought your home for $100,000 and 10 years later, the house next door sells for $500,000, and you've got the same number of bedrooms, the same roughly amount of land under the house, right? Your houses are comparable. Then it may be time to think about selling your house and taking the money out of it, because that's a profit. So if we were talking about Trump Tower being in the middle of Wyoming, a cow pasture somewhere, that might not be as big a deal. But no, what we're talking about is, in order to cause harm to a political opponent, the New York court system is about to steal. Or they're not even going to steal it. Steal it implies that they take it and keep it. They're going to destroy. They're just going to erase the value of the property assets held by asset holders of assets in New York City. They're going to literally erase billions, if not trillions of dollars in net worth from every millionaire, billionaire that owns property in New York City, probably in the entire state of New York. And that's going to have a trickle across effect on the property values of the entire country. The best case scenario is that creates some kind of a deflationary pressure that lowers prices across the board. But that is some pie in the sky optimistic bullshit that's just not going to happen. Instead, what's going to happen is you're going to see economies collapse as a result of the artificial deflation of property values without a commensurate cessation of currency counterfeiting, right? Because the U.S. Mint is the monopoly counterfeiter, but they're not going to stop making the money machine go burr. They're going to print more dollars. They're going to print more and more dollars into an ever-increasing national debt while deflating the value of real assets through an illegitimate and artificial statutory deflation of real estate holdings in the largest real estate market on the planet. Okay, I mean, New York is up there. Dubai is bigger. I think Dubai and Shanghai may beat it, but it's far enough up there that this is major. This is the system intentionally setting us on fire. These are commies. If you're a Democrat, you voted for this. This is what you wanted. And I hope it bites you in the ass. And I hope that the rest of you remember that in November. Okay. I have got to get down the road. I've got a lot of shit to do in a short amount of time to do it. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. Hang on. Carl Benjamin says breaking news, and this post, wow. I just got breaking news from Carl Benjamin, and then the and then post deleted. So I don't know what the hell that was. I'll keep an eye on that, and if it's worth conversation, then I'll come back to it. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a teaser before I close it out right now. We're gonna be talking about the court decision to allow hostile foreign invaders to carry firearms within the borders of the United States of America. We're gonna be talking about that tomorrow on Firearms Friday, and I'm going to have 2 guests online for that show. So that's going to be a good one tomorrow. I hope you guys all tune in, and thanks for watching. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.